Hello again and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we're brought to you by the good graces of Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions. And we're pre-taping the Thursday before our Monday air date. Is that correct, Raymond?
That's correct.
Okay, so when you folks see this, it'll be on a Monday evening around 5:30 Eastern Time. And if you're doing it online, who knows what time you're looking at. So in any event, we're going to try, because there's so much stuff breaking, we'll just try to do some analysis and then bring some stories to your attention that you may or may not have learned about or aspects to them. And one of the key stories that we want to talk about is the aftermath of the Amber Guyger trial outcome in Dallas, Texas.
And the murder of
the witness. Because right after that verdict came down, and all kinds of things happening with the brother of the victim giving her a hug and the judge giving her a hug, which I hadn't known about, and all that. One of the key witnesses got shot and killed in a parking lot. You've got, who was that particular key witness, Raymond?
The key witness was Joshua Brown, who heard. Said he heard voices. One of the things that he mentioned in his testimony was that he heard conversation. Well, surprised conversation. But what's not clear to me is whether he heard it while he was inside of his apartment or in the hallway. It says heard in the hallway.
Right. So
but it doesn't specify who's in the hallway.
Or he might have been in the hallway.
Right, exactly.
The two of them might. But you know what? I don't even want to relitigate.
No, I don't either.
I don't want to.
I would like to know, because if he was in the hallway, that means they were in their apartment, in his apartment, and there was time to resolve whatever issue
you keep
arose.
Saying there was time to resolve. If somebody's got a gun in their hands and they're acting crazy, I don't know how you're going to resolve.
If they were talking, even in a surprised tone, they had a chance to confront each other.
We're speculating. We're speculating. I'm just saying, you know.
I'm saying if he heard them talking, regardless of what the conversation was, the duration of the conversation, that was before she shot him.
But here's the point. She actually was found guilty of what? Aggravated?
Was it aggravated assault or involuntary manslaughter?
Involuntary manslaughter.
I don't know what the charge was.
I believe, it was involuntary manslaughter. But she ended up getting a 10-year sentence.
That's
okay.
Insane. And when's the last time you saw a judge?
Don't go to the judge.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
The sentence, we can go to the judge, but let's do it in order.
We'll do it,
The sentence came down as a 10-year sentence.
10-year sentence.
Now, the interesting thing for me, Brave, because we've discussed this more than one occasion, and folks, we've brought this to you on more than one occasion. Very few police officers ever get convicted of killing anybody, and usually when they kill black people, they don't get convicted at all.
No.
So normally, they don't even come to trial. But in this instance, there was a trial, and surprisingly, there was a conviction.
Right.
Now, the tenor of the conviction, involuntary manslaughter, I don't know, but I know the family was not happy that she only got a 10-year sentence.
No, of course not. Yeah.
The brouhaha that broke out actually got started because Botham Jean, the young man who was killed, his brother actually gave her an instant moment of forgiveness by asking to give her a hug.
Right.
And then the judge didn't respond, and he said, please, a second time, and then the judge relented. And so that basically, to coin a phrase, the hug heard round the world. Remember the shot, the splash heard round the world. Well, the hug heard round the world or seen around the world, because some people were very upset about this hug for this woman who had killed this police officer. I'm going into in depth
why.
Because the nature of the beast is we get black and brown people convicted of all kinds of crimes, lots of times convicted erroneously, and they never get any sort of mercy and forgiveness within the duration of their sentence, much less on the spot of the sentencing. And so
what do you think
I'm
about
sure
that?
that's why this brouhaha hit around the Twitter sphere and Facebook and all over the globe. Your take on the severity of the sentence and the judge then also responding to this hug fest.
The severity of the sentence, if it was involuntary manslaughter, you don't get life sentence for involuntary manslaughter or aggravated assault. So the 10 years, that was at the judge's discretion. I don't think that that's outrageously short. If I were a family member, I would want to see the person go to the gas chamber. I mean, well, of course I would.
But as far as within sentencing guidelines,
within the sentencing guidelines, I think she was right.
Life?
I think she was within sentencing guidelines. She could have given more time if she had wanted to, but she also probably could have. Well, I'm sure there's a mandatory sentence. That I don't know. Maybe the minimum is 10 years. But nobody ever goes, well, nobody white and nobody that has a badge goes to jail for life for killing a black man.
Yeah, that's true. I can't argue that.
Anyhow, the sentence, I have no comment on the sentence, really. So her hugging the defendant after the verdict, that I got a problem with.
The judge?
Yeah, I don't understand why she did that. I've heard her reasoning, but when's the last time you saw a judge hug?
I've never seen a judge hug a defendant, but every courtroom is never taped or videotaped, so maybe a judge has in the past and we just never saw it or never heard about it.
That's possible.
But my thinking is within the context of the family member asking to give that sign of forgiveness, and then the defendant,
God bless him,
tearfully doing whatever she's doing.
Right.
The judge, you remember the old Shakespeare play Merchant of Venice, where the judge talks about the quality of mercy. Right. And in our criminal justice system, there's never any such thing as the quality of mercy that I've ever seen. Okay? When it comes to black defendants, there's no such thing as the quality of mercy ever being extended to any black defendant, brown defendant in the United States of America. But this is a black judge.
Yeah.
And this is a black judge that watched a family member extend serious mercy and forgiveness. And so when this defendant, I'm listening to the judge's reasoning, and I'm actually thinking back to how justice is always supposed to be tempered with mercy within a Christian tradition. This is the tradition that this country is supposedly founded on. And the fact that this judge decided based on the family member and her own sense of the trial's already over, the verdict, the sentence, the jury has come back with a verdict, the sentence has been rendered. As a judge, I have made sure that sentence has been pronounced. I can extend the quality of mercy to this defendant. I looked at that and said, I'm going to give you slack on that. And so for me, I was shocked that the family member did it, and I said, hey, that's the drum that young man marches to. That's on him. That's not for me to question.
Exactly.
The judge decided based on his example, she could go down that road. I'm going to say, Your Honor, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Now,
you see, that's the whole thing. They gave her the benefit of the doubt.
They didn't give her the benefit of that. They sent her to jail for 10 years.
The jury sent her to jail for 10 years, but
they gave her forgiveness.
They
gave her forgiveness.
That, she was in a poor situation, and they took some
forgiveness.
Pity on her.
They gave her forgiveness.
Right.
Now, I'm not questioning that.
No,
I want to double back to the story we started out with. Let's do a little bit of discussion on
this ludicrous.
Speak up.
Okay. What
give
happened?
the background
All right.
to
Joshua Brown, who we spoke of earlier, the witness who heard voices in the hall, we assume, before he actually heard shots, was killed 2 days after. Was it 2 days after?
Something like that. Yeah. It was not almost immediately after, but a couple of days at least.
And the story was that it was a drug deal gone bad. That it happened in the parking lot outside of his housing complex. Now, if he was a drug dealer and he's the primary witness in a major murder case, how stupid did he have to be? I mean, if I were a drug dealer and I was all of a sudden in his situation, I'd get rid of anything I had in my house, because you don't know when the press is going to show up, you don't know when the cop's going to show up, you don't know when the DA is going to show up.
Right.
So
what
that's
you're saying
number one.
is, as a quote dyed-in-the-wool drug dealer, first of all, it's questionable that he's even going to volunteer to be a witness. That's just because he doesn't want to come in contact with the police.
There
Okay,
you go.
and then, having decided to come forward to do right by this dead young man, he's not going to leave
ridiculous
all
story.
his drug product and
Paraphernalia,
stuff in
yeah.
his apartment
Exactly.
while he's doing this.
Exactly.
That's where you're coming from. All right, I actually sort of agree with you on that. And let me add one other thing to going down that road. So these suspects in this shooting drove all the way from
The shooting
Louisiana
of Joshua Brown. Yes, so I drove 300 miles
to,
from Louisiana
to try to pick up some
cop some pot.
pot and maybe some vaping stuff.
I don't know. You see, when I used to smoke all those many years ago, I wasn't willing to go past my corner. You know, I wasn't traveling 300 miles.
Okay,
know?
all right.
I'm sorry.
So
the
we're
whole
getting
thing is just totally ridiculous.
Well, here's my other questioning on this now. Most of the press reports that we saw about this young man, they talked about his background and his
Right.
background.
Yeah.
Somebody,
A stellar, exemplary
unless
background.
they didn't do any digging, they just took him at his word, because sometimes people do slipshotty journalistic work,
Right.
folks. So I believe they said that he'd been an Airbnb manager.
Yeah.
He ran them or whatever. He graduated from a college somewhere
Right,
in
a
Florida
BA
with a
in
science
science degree,
degree. And whatever else, he seemed to be an upstanding young man earning a living. Okay,
and on his way
on a
up,
legal
yeah,
basis.
yeah.
Now, because he's a star witness, and now I'm coming from my journalistic background here, folks. Most of the cases that I've ever seen handled, whether it was the Atlanta child murders or the move bombing in Philadelphia or any of those serious cases, when there are witnesses on the stand that a defense wants to challenge, the defense lawyer will dig into that witness's background with a fine-tooth comb.
Right.
And so when that witness gets on the stand, as soon as he or she opens her mouth, that defense attorney will say, well, weren't you convicted on a felony drug possession? Weren't you
Right.
so-and-so and such, and didn't you do X, Y? None of that came up in the course of the Amber Guyger trial
No,
that,
you're right.
that you're
absolutely right.
talking about, Raymond. So if this guy is a long-term drug dealer and is a known felon doing nefarious things,
Right.
how come that
Prosecution
didn't
would
pop up
impugned his
when the defense were
testimony.
trying to put up a strong defense for Amber Guyger? That tells me that there's something that doesn't pass the smell test on this crazy nonsense about
I wanna
three
hold my
guys
nose now. Are
driving
you
from
kidding?
Louisiana to buy drugs from this guy,
Right.
and the police all of a sudden find all this drug stuff in this young man's apartment. Folks, all I'm saying is this story
Unlikely.
does not pass muster. I don't care what the Dallas cops are saying, and I don't care whether the mayor is saying do not jump to any conclusions and all the craziness about the Dallas police being involved. I didn't double check, but the first report that I heard, I hope it was an accurate one, was that this young man was shot in the mouth and in the chest. Now, if you got a drug deal going bad, you ain't figuring out a way to point a gun in somebody's mouth to shoot him in the mouth, okay? Unless that's an accidental round that just went off and accidentally caught him in the mouth.
That could happen.
That could happen.
Absolutely.
All things are possible on planet Earth.
I would have liked to have seen the ballistics on that.
I
What
would have
distance
liked to
was he
double
shot at?
check.
Was he shot
Close range,
or
how,
from a
what?
distance?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know.
There's more to this shooting in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
And so, but anyway.
and that's the other thing. Even if all this was true and he was a drug dealer, he's going to do a drug deal in the parking lot of the building where he lives while he's participating in this trial?
Well, no, this is after the trial.
This is after the trial, but still.
Yeah, I know. He's a stupid drug dealer, evidently.
Exactly.
And I say
I don't
a
think
stupid,
so. I don't
alleged
think Alleged
and I'm
drug
saying
dealer,
an
yeah.
allegedly stupid drug dealer.
No, it does-
Because
that
I
just
don't
doesn't
think the
make
young
sense.
man was stupid at all. And I
don't
have
either.
my doubts that he was involved in any drugs.
If he was a drug dealer, he never would have come forward as a witness.
You and I
come
know
on,
that's the
everybody
way.
knows that.
But okay. But anyway, so we'll spend enough time on that story. Except no, there's a second angle to that story that my daughter brought to my attention. My daughter Kathleen.
And I'm sorry, you misspoke before. You called Joshua Botham Jean. Botham Jean was fired from.
No, Botham Jean was the victim. Brown was the witness who was supposed to be the drug dealer. I
Right.
think Botham Jean was the one that Amber Guyger shot.
Oh,
He was the victim
no, you're
of
right. I'm
Guyger's
sorry,
shooting.
I forgot their names.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. But here's the thing. There was a second witness who testified for the prosecution. And that was a young lady.
Yeah.
A young
what was her
lady.
name? Bunny something or other.
I'm seeing citizens journalism where somebody from what's this video?
Something from YouTube. Somebody has a YouTube channel.
A guy has a channel. I forget what he calls it. We're looking at it on screen, but because it's already past the opening video, I can't give you his name. But it's regional news, and the young man who actually is doing this video. You know what?
You don't have.
I can't waste his time. His name isn't up here, but he did an exclusive interview with the young woman who also testified for the prosecution. This young woman is in her mid-20s somewhere, looking at the video that ran, and she actually was working for a pharmaceutical organization at some point. She got her credentials from the pharmaceutical company to work in the particular field where she was working. After she testified, immediately after she testified, the company started getting calls from a bunch of crackpot people calling her a black activist, radical, and she started getting threats. Her name, by the way, in this interview is just Bunny. This enterprising citizen journal may not have wanted to reveal her full actual ID because he referred to her just as Bunny.
Yeah.
And but she talked about the fact that she immediately got fired by the company, and there is no grounds to sue them because it's at will, whatever. But if there's no cause or anything that termination, and because her notoriety in testifying in the trial became too much and the calls kept coming in, they said, we can't have this, you've got to go. But the icing on that, whatever you want to call it, was that they then stripped her of the credentials so that she couldn't continue in the pharmaceutical field for any other corporation. So Bunny has now suffered, Brown has suffered the fate of being dead in a parking lot for testifying in the Amber Guyger case. Bunny has suffered the fate of losing her job, losing her credentials, and now has to think about going into some other field of work. Fortunately, some friends have started a GoFundMe page for her to help her. And in the interview that she did, she said she's trying to, she had some online entrepreneurial things, and they were knocked down because they claimed that she had violated their space terms of service stuff, and she didn't do anything on this website about anything. She published nothing on those. She just published her T-shirts and her whatever.
Right.
But that got knocked down as well. So her entrepreneurial money-making venture got kiboshed also,
And
having
her
testified. Her normal
paycheck.
job stuff got kiboshed, and she's now out of work and contemplating having to go to another profession.
And all she did was film the police officer walking back and forth on the balcony, right?
She provided video of Amber Guyger in the hallway outside of that apartment after the shooting.
Right.
And she testified to what she heard Amber Guyger say
On the phone,
and back and forth. So her testimony evidently was significant for the prosecution. Amber Guyger got convicted, and this child lost her job. Brown got killed. But Amber Guyger got a nice hug from the judge, and
Do we know where she was? Do we know where she's going to be imprisoned?
I don't know the name of the prison.
But I'm wondering if it's Country Club.
I don't think it's quite a country club, but there was some other famous prisoner who was sent to that prison. I think he may have been
Martha
some
Stewart.
notorious drug dealer.
Some
I saw
notorious-
the headline and I went, oh, well, what does that have to do with what prison she went to? I didn't even
want
read
you
the
to know
story.
that it's a hardcore place,
I don't
you
know
know.
whether it's hardcore or whatever. I'm sorry to be telling you stuff that I can't really amplify and explain, but I couldn't answer Ray's question with any real.
Well, that's, I mean, when you don't know, you don't know.
I really don't know the prison.
Okay.
And whoever the formerly famous bad guy was that went to the prison, I don't even remember his name, but somebody posted the fact that, Amber Guyger is going to the same prison as so and so. So enough of our number one story took us
We got
a
9
bunch of
minutes.
time. You've been adding. You've been adding.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, I'm paying attention over here.
All right. So while we're on the difference between how black defendants and white defendants suffer in courts of law, there's a story when I was trying to find the video about this young lady, Bunny, losing her job on Facebook. I came across another Facebook post which has an amazing headline, and it says, this came out of the Atlanta Black Star.
You were just
Headline,
telling me about that.
Iowa couple who starved and abused their black adopted children get 2 years probation, no jail time after guilty plea. Now, I hadn't heard about this story. I might have seen something about people being arrested for abusing adopted children a couple of weeks back, or maybe, but I didn't pay any attention to the story.
Right.
But when I saw this headline, I went, well, what is this story? Well, it turns out that Kenny Fry, 42, and his wife, Kelly Fry, 40, pleaded guilty to 2 counts each of child endangerment and aggravated misdemeanor, the Des Moines Register reported. They previously pleaded not guilty to felony charges in the case. Now, they were charged with abusing and neglecting their 2 adopted children, and guess what?
Let's give any
They
details.
get 2 months of probation for their crime, and that's all.
What was the abuse? Withholding candy, or
The couple originally faced charges of child endangerment, causing bodily injury, and neglect for abandonment of a dependent person
Bodily
after
injury?
doctors determined their 2 adoptive kids, a 10-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy from Ghana, were severely malnourished. The pair had adopted the siblings years earlier, only to subject them to starvation, emotional abuse, and unsanitary living conditions. Okay? Now, they won't face any jail time.
What is wrong with these people?
Okay, here's the background, folk. These are a white male and a white female who go all the way to
apparently
Ghana
went
to
to-
adopt
yeah.
2 black Ghanaian children.
So
they
they-
bring them back to this country and proceed to, in addition to being
Abuse
served
them.
oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the brother and sister shared a bedroom furnished with nothing but a small plastic mat, a throw blanket, and a single shelf on the wall, according to the investigators.
These people should go to jail for a long time.
It was a concerned neighbor who reported the abuse to officials after seeing the children knocking on the door of the home for 45 minutes, begging to be let in after the couple locked them out. They were knocking on the door, sounded like they were crying. I just thought something's not right, just knowing it was so cold outside and those poor kids were locked out. This is a neighbor
You just
who had to
quoted
call
neighbor,
and report
right,
these
yeah,
people.
Unreal.
Meanwhile, the Fry's 5 biological children
Five?
weren't subjected to such inhumane treatment and were cared for properly. The couple claimed the abuse was a form of punishment for the adopted children's bad behavior. Now, this is the judge.
Did they adopt these kids
No.
as babies?
Well, when they were much younger.
No,
Yeah.
much younger. So
Yeah.
this is over a
This
period
is-
of years.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is not
This
like
is,
6
This
months.
is abuse of years.
Jesus.
Okay, now this is the judge. A judge by the name of Dustria Relf, R-E-L-P-H, addressed the public outrage. There must have been, the Iowans
Iowa,
must have
right?
been really outraged by this sentence.
Send letters to them.
That the Fries had escaped jail time. Ralph acknowledged the couple's poor parenting skills, said they sought help and had received bad advice in return. So basically, this is the judge thinking. This is about a young couple. I don't know how young they could have been 10 years from now. 42, 40 now.
yeah.
That would have been 30 and whatever.
Right.
They ain't 18 and 22. Okay. Young couple over their heads in a failed adoption. They went to Ghana. They
Why?
travel halfway around the globe.
yeah.
Okay, right. Made poor decisions and didn't get help when they needed it.
But
at least not the right help.
Their white children were okay, though.
Yeah, they seem to be
So, I
doing
mean, why
okay.
don't you apply the same?
The judge says, I believe they should
Rearing-
pay a hefty debt to society, even if those
I think they
payments
should go
take
to
several.
jail.
Their hefty debt is $12,500. What was
man,
that?
no.
$12,500. The hefty debt to society is what they're paying for abusing these two kids. Okay? All right.
Probation's their hefty debt.
Right. And $12,500.
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah. I'd pay $12,000 to get out of jail too.
This is about, what were you calling it?
There are a lot of things I can call it, none of which I can repeat here.
White privilege.
Oh, yes, well, that was the
my,
least
my,
I said of
my,
it. Yes.
you had said earlier that if that had been a black couple,
Oh.
they would have been in jail. Even if it were black kids, they were doing that too.
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah.
especially,
No,
and if it
absolutely.
were white kids, they'd have been thrown under the jail. Okay, all right. So,
Don't get me started, bro.
so,
We
so
got 3.
guess what,
NATO's
Raymond?
not
I think
gonna
we're out
have
of time.
I think we're out of time.
Okay, folks, this has been Media Watch. I'm your co-host Eric Tait,
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
and we'll catch you the next time.